wanted to share this. Steve Smoak, who is a viewer of our show, this is what he suggests for the college football playoff if they go to 12 teams. Based on, that would be this year's actual calendar, but based on the CBS Sports final rankings. It doesn't mean it's not the one that decided the national championship, but this is just his idea. First round games. 2 games on Thursday, mid-December. We've talked about trying to regain December. 2 games on Friday, 4 games on Saturday. And then underneath of that, no, go back, Garrett. Underneath of that, in italics, all games are played in climate-controlled stadiums. Teams ranked through 8 get to pick their site. So let's say Clemson's number 1. They get to go to Georgia or Atlanta.
Okay.
Let's, just as an idea.
So this is a 16-team playoff?
Yes.
Okay.
16, I said 12. 16.
Yeah, okay.
And that's going to be above what they'll do. But this is, if you look at it, it kind of has a little fun here. Now, the only problem with this first page is that ticket sales and getting ready for the event, it's different than in Division III or elsewhere because you're going to basically play wherever the top seed wins.
You'd only have 15 days if you were, from the end of the championship weekend to until the first round of the playoff. If you are neutral site, so say it is, the NRG Stadium, then they only have 2 weeks to get Georgia and Clemson in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So here are these are the games, and you can see where they're going to play. And the matchups really are relevant. It's just based on what CBS had. It could have been anyone else. But these are where you would play the games. And the stadiums are some of the nicer stadiums. These are the indoor venues. All right, so there you go. Now, that's the first round games. 8 venues, all of them climate controlled. Top seed would get to pick where they wanted to play. And that would be interesting because you would think a lot of them, especially if you're the SEC or the ACC, Georgia is one, maybe, or New Orleans, you'd want to jump right into that. Now, then you get the winners into the quarterfinal round. We don't say who won, but there would be 2 games on Friday, December 30th, and 2 games on New Year's Eve. Orlando and Jacksonville are only eligible to host second-round games, and that would rotate annually. Like the first year, let's say it's in Orlando. But also Atlanta, Scottsdale, actually Glendale, and then also Miami would host the quarterfinal round games. Now, not all of them, because the Orange Bowl is not indoors, but you're going into the quarterfinal round. You're getting into some of the hot,
it's also not
warm weather cities.
Yeah.
Then you go to the semifinal round. This is just Steve kind of just going about his business. I love it. Go to Arlington, of course, which is, he said the Cotton Bowl. He means, I believe, AT&T Stadium.
Well, no, he's putting these games.
It's the bowl game.
Yeah, he's putting, that's the bowl game.
Right. Oh, that's right. Which is at AT&T Stadium.
Which, yeah, the biggest hole I'll shoot in this is if the playoffs will not be the bowl games except for maybe the major ones. The bowl games will still, the TaxSlayer.com Bowl will still exist with 6 and 6 teams because they're like 12-team playoff is coming, but they're not letting go of that extra bowl money.
Okay.
All the way across
this would
the board,
be up in Arlington, the 80,000. This is the semifinals. You say, wait a minute, why don't they get to host the championship? Hold on. Then New Orleans would play the other semifinal game. It would be the Sugar Bowl. Then the championship game, the Rose Bowl. And then they would rotate the championship game every year among the Peach, the Fiesta, the Orange, the Cotton, Sugar Rolls, and continually do that, semifinals and championship. Now, the part I said is, again, you don't really give any of the sites much advance notice, and it's not like just hosting another game like Mary Hardin Baylor would play 2 or 3 games at home or in other places, Mount Union or others, right? But it seemed like it's pretty simple. Obviously, politics gets involved, lobbying gets involved, sponsorships get involved, but it does seem to be pretty cut and dry.
It is cut and dry. I would say that he's got several holes in this one, and I like the last one he sent a little bit better, although this was well thought out. Hotels are a huge problem.
Yes.
Hotels are a huge problem, which is why the 12-team playoff and the first-round games are all in home stadiums, because that way you don't have to worry about gigantic, because if you are, again, like the first game in Houston, you've got to guarantee that you have enough hotels, and Houston usually would, but December 15th or 14th, whenever that was, you've got to promise in 2 weeks from the time that they know that they're going, that their fans can have places to stay coming in from South Carolina and Athens, Georgia, which they're going to need hotel rooms. This is not like, Texas playing in the Cotton Bowl where, there's a good bunch of fans that may just come up day of the game and drive the 4 hours back. But you can't have that. So hotels are a problem. The fact that you're going to have the other bowls involved with games that are not in the playoff, because that's not going away no matter what.
Well, the sites are going to know they're going to host games.
Yeah. But
like
they
the
don't
Sugar
know.
Bowl knows they're going to host a game. They don't know what SEC or Big 12 team's coming, but they can block off rooms.
Yeah, but there's also, like the reason it works for the most part is people have a month to make their plans, not
Sure.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Which is why, you can, you're going to have that problem with the playoff anyway, but I think you're down to a couple teams then. Doing it this way is what they have with the playoff, where you run the risk of, if you have a team that's not very big in it, which is something that's probably kept some of the smaller teams out. So say a team like TCU had gotten to the playoff in 2014, and then they win, and they're 2 neutral sites in 2 weeks. Do you have people going to where they were going? It's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of holes.
I mean, forget the small school thing, man. And I agree with you. And you just said it. Like, there's been teams, Baylor and TCU, for example, that are judged differently because they can't pack a stadium. Not whether they're good enough or not to beat Ohio State, but they can't bring as many fans. So that's where this whole thing's kind of BS to begin with. Not this thing, but just the whole setup is kind of BS to begin with. Because that's just yet another deal that's in favor of the big schools. Like, you get the edge because you'll bring 30,000 more fans. So it's really just, what is it all about? It's all about the money. It's all about the TV ratings and all that. So that's where I think that just kind of sucks.
Yeah, when
honestly.
it comes to the playoff, I can understand bowl sponsors wanting to bring fan bases that are the largest ones to their bowl game. But if it comes to a championship playoff type formula, 8 teams or 12 teams, or even now, it should never, when it comes to playoffs that leads to a championship, ever be decided based on somebody's enrollment and or fan base.
And yet there was a former college football player that we know who went to a school that's going to be joining the SEC soon, who spoke to somebody that was associated with the playoff committee right at the very beginning of it, who flat out told him that Baylor would never make the college football playoff because they don't have the fan base. Now, whether you want to believe that or not, it doesn't matter to me, but that was said right when the playoff was starting by somebody that was involved with it. So if you think that's fair and that's cool or whatever, that's fine. I think that's garbage. I think that's BS, and I think that that's not bringing the best teams in. That's bringing in the teams that bring the most money. So
there you go.
Whatever.
I can understand bowls wanting to do that, but not anything
right,
that leads to a playoff.
But not with a championship, and yet we've probably seen that.
Yes.
But my other point was going to be, Paul's talking about these small schools and traveling. Hell, man, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State and Los Angeles in the first round, I don't know how many of those people are going to then go to New Orleans, and then the winner of that goes on to, Miami. Like, I know Oklahoma has a lot of fans, but I don't know if they got a lot of fans that are going to be able to go cross-country for, 6 weeks, 3 different locations. So that's where I do think the home sites, if I were to tweak anything, I think you got to limit the travel as much as possible, because your big donors can pull that off. But how many of those are standing by the end of the road if you're in Game 4 in your 4th different city and hotel room in 6 weeks? I don't know.
Matt in DC, I like Steve's idea, but you have to do home stadiums for a few games, at least the first round. Fans won't travel to all of them. In case of Baylor, we won't travel to away games in our own state, let alone a college football playoff. Now, they have shown up in droves at times, but I get the point. But then do it again, and then do it again, even when there gets excitement in the buildup. And so this is...
Well, can you imagine them going to the Sugar Bowl, and the turnout was great last year?
Right, but then turning
next
around
week,
and going to Miami.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, it's going to be really hard to do just for being able to afford it, much less wanting to do it. So, yeah, that would be my only kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, Mike Game says the travel isn't limited on the FCS level. Yeah, but they know they're in home stadiums until the Amos Alonso Stag Bowl, or that's on the Division III level. They know until the finals.
Yeah, Mount Union doesn't have to travel.
UMHB plays like 4 home games and then plays in the title game
in
in Houston.